Our children are under attack. The doctrines of demons is becoming prominent, and the spiritual warfare is getting more insane by the moment. Folks, it's time to sober up. We are called by God to engage in that battle, because if we don't, the results will be catastrophic. All right, folks, this one is disgusting, and I might as well just get into it because there's a point I want to demonstrate. Actually, there's multiple points that I want to demonstrate, and I want you to listen through this because as disgusting, as evil, satanically inspired, and wicked as it is, we need to know what's going on, and we need to understand the real spiritual perspective. I want to say this. Don't anybody come to me and tell me that all of this stuff is not spiritual. It's very spiritual. Let me read this to you. This is an article out of the Epic Times. This is literally insane. This is insane. It says, a trifecta of powerful globalist organizations, which of course we will name in a second, is rigorously executing a plan to teach kindergartners about sexuality and empower children to say yes to sexual encounters, according to agency documents reviewed by the Epic Times. Now, critics say this amounts to children being groomed for sex under the banner of human rights and education, while pedophilia is promoted and parental rights are undermined. And that is a correct assertion, by the way. That is a very, very correct assessment concerning the matter. Experts told the Epic Times that the push for these programs to be accepted in nations around the world could lead to the practice of having sexual encounters with what they call consenting children being viewed as acceptable. Now, proponents of the programs say they seek to ensure that children's rights to sexual pleasure are protected. Folks, this is disgusting. This is disgusting. Let me tell you the name of the organizations. Here it is. The International Planned Parenthood Federation, the World Health Organization, and the United Nations are advancing children's exposure to sexuality on two fronts, according to documents. On one front, the organizations are promoting comprehensive sexuality education that emphasizes teaching consent for sex. How do you teach consent for sex, folks? This is evil for kids. This is evil. On another front, the groups are pushing to remold the portrayal of children and young people as sexual beings with sexual rights that should be based on maturity instead of age. This is disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting, and I'm completely outraged by this. The insanity that is tied to this kind of foolishness is beyond the capacity of most people to understand. First of all, we know this is a spiritual issue. We know that there are foul spirits. This is a demonic issue that inspires absolutely wicked people to exploit the most vulnerable of our nation, the most vulnerable of our population. Folks, this is terrible. It shouldn't be a surprise to us if they're wanting to actually abort babies that they're doing this kind of thing. It shouldn't be a surprise to us that they continue to target little children, because if they can target little children, then they can actually target anybody that you want, because here's the deal. If a parent allows their own children to be targeted and doesn't speak up, well, then they're not going to speak up about anything else, because that's our job as parents, is to protect our children and to keep our children from being exposed to these things. I'm mad. And I don't know about you, but you should be mad too. When you see this kind of stuff, the World Health Organization they are devils. They are devils. So are the people at Planned Parenthood. They are literal murderers. They are absolutely evil people. They are child exploiters. They are dark and they are demonic. And of course the United Nations is evil. We've been talking about how evil the United Nations has been for a long time. The UN continues to make declarations against Israel on a regular basis, even more than they make declarations or resolutions that stand against all kinds of other nations that are full-blown terrorist nations, right? They don't talk about Iran as much. Guys, look, I'm just telling you this. There is no way that you could look at any of this and not see where all of this is spiritual. There's no way that you could see this and not recognize the wicked and evil and demonic and satanic depictions that exist in the midst of all of this. The Bible talks about this, folks. It says it right here in 1 Timothy chapter 4. Now the Spirit expressly says that in the latter times some will depart from the faith, giving heed to deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons. Folks, doctrines of demons. What we're talking about here is a doctrine of demons. Look at this. Speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their own conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from foods which God has created to be received with thanksgiving by those who believe and know the truth. In other words, don't eat meat, just eat a bunch of spiders. That's what they're talking about here, folks. Yet while they're doing all of this, it's absolutely crazy to see this. When you go into 2 Timothy, and I'm going to just turn a few pages and read what it says in 2 Timothy. It's so crazy to think about this. Look at what he says in 2 Timothy chapter 3. He says, but know this, that in the last days perilous times will come, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors. Look at this. This is crazy. Traitors, haughty, lovers of pleasure, headstrong, rather than lovers of God. Look at this. Having a form of godliness, but denying its power, and from such people turn away. Folks, understand the world that we're talking about here. The manifestation of this wickedness that we're looking at right now in articles like this Epoch Times article is a perfect demonstration of the satanic inspiration that continues to drive and to move the things that we're seeing in the world today. Again, we cannot allow them to target our children. We cannot allow them to target the most vulnerable people in our population. We are called by God to stand up against these things. Why? Because God loves them. The Bible makes it clear that the love of many will wax cold. What does that mean with the love of many will wax cold? What does it mean to have these types of unnatural affections? It speaks of the mindset that says we are going to be insensitive towards humanity, towards mankind, and allow mankind to exploit itself by destroying its own. That's exactly what we're dealing with today, and we are in those days. But here's the instruction that the Bible gives to us regarding us in those last days. Besides the fact that we're not to have fellowships and associations with people who do these things, the obligation that is set forth in front of us as believers is to stand for righteousness. It's to speak up about these things. It's to defend the most vulnerable. It's to literally be people whose hearts and minds are turned towards God. We're the gatekeepers, folks. We are Christians. We are called by God to stand for righteousness, to stand for truth. We cannot allow this to happen. These are our children. God bless you.